Welcome back to episode 23 of the Two Thinking Apes. And today we're with Zeynab Roberts, from the founding director and the creator of the Step2Foundation, which is a charity that works in Cambodia. And we're going to find out a bit about that charity. So thank you, Zeynab, for coming on. First, I probably want to ask, tell us a bit about what inspired you to start the charity, and how did you really get it to start working from just an idea to like an actual real charity?
Okay. Yes, it's certainly it was a reasonably lengthy journey to get it from an experience, an idea, something that I felt quite passionate about, to actually turn it into an organization now that is registered as a charitable organization doing international aid in Cambodia. So that journey took a number of years, actually 3 years. I went to Cambodia in 2012 to do work for another organization called Cambodian Children Trust. And I was commissioned by them to actually help build business principles and plans around their charitable organization and set up a social enterprise. So I went to Cambodia a couple of times to help out that particular charity on a pro bono basis. So I was basically doing it because I wanted to give back something to not only the communities there, but also to an Australian charity that was doing such wonderful work in Cambodia. So I ended up in Cambodia as a result of that. And I went there about 3 times before I connected with Soviet Thai, who's now our operations manager for Step2Foundation in Cambodia, in Siem Reap. And he basically took me to his village and he said, look, we really desperately need to do something about education in my village. We have about 300 kids who are primary school age in the village, and they have very little opportunity to go to school and learn. And I want to teach them English, because English is such an important part of the learning in Cambodia. If you want to get a job and free yourself from poverty and subsistence life, you really need to be able to speak English. So I went and to a little village called Savache, and there was a tiny little school with about 50 kids, 1 teacher, but the school was basically in ruins and there was no facilities, no sanitation, no water. The kids have no writing material, no books, no pencils, nothing. It was just a blackboard, 1 teacher and 1 teacher's aide. And honestly, it just broke my heart. And I just looked at these kids. They were so eager to learn and so clever and so bright. And I thought, okay, well, let's go into town, get some supplies. Let's start doing that, at least give them some pens, pencils, books to start. And they were so happy to even just have so little. And that's how it started. I came back to Australia and I said to my family and my kids and my sister at the time, I said, look, I want to build a school in a little village in Cambodia. And they thought I was really actually crazy. They thought, wow, Mum's gone off, again to some wonderful venture. And here she is trying to, whatever. But no, they did really support me throughout the process. And so we did renovate the existing buildings there, but then we built more onto the school, and now the school has grown we cater to about 300 primary school children, but we also cater for older high school students by teaching them English. So we have English classes which we partner with the Australian ACE, Australian Centre for Education in Siem Reap. So we do English classes for older students now as well. And in addition to that, I became passionate about trying to improve the water quality in the school. So I went back about 3 or 4 times trying to find a way to get clean water to the school. And we were very successful in doing that as well, after many hours of research and some very terrific, assistance from some of the locals who knew the process and the system for us to be able to do that. So we ended up building a water system into the school in Savache, and then we built another 5 systems now. So we give water to about 15,000 people in Cambodia across all 5 villages now.
Or in different villages?
Yes, we give water to different villages. We also assist in the development programs in another village called Lolai. We partner with an NGO, local NGO there. And yeah, so we built, or in total, we have 6 systems now. We operate across 5 villages, and we provide clean drinking water to a very large number of people, which has been a magnificent opportunity to increase, sanitation and increase just, lifestyle, for people to have fresh water is just such an important part of daily living. And so now, I've been to Cambodia 15 times since 2012. And then in 2015, we incorporated as an organization doing international aid. And the school has now grown to have 11 teachers, and we have 9 classrooms, a library, a football field, toilets. Wow. It's a well-equipped school now, and we run English programs. We have 3 also teachers that we employ from Step2 to teach English. So yeah, it's grown into a grassroots, wonderful, charity where we're doing some really good work for those communities.
Can I ask, to bring it right back, what made you go, because you said you originally went for another charity. So what
Yes.
I'm sure that's something for me, but I'm sure Costin, for lots of people, like everyone wants to do that, but no, I don't think many people actually end up going to do that. So first of all, what made you choose Cambodia, and how did you get that spark to kind of go do that and then get that motivation from there?
I think I want to know, I think I read, if I'm correct, that you and your sister and your family funded that school at the very beginning from your own pockets.
That's correct. Yes, we did fund the school initially from our own pockets. Look, everything, I think there's a lot of serendipity in life. I actually didn't think I'd even go for a holiday to Cambodia. I didn't know anything about Cambodia. But for some reason, I connected with someone a friend of ours in Melbourne, who I heard was doing some work in Cambodia, teaching kids how to, he was teaching them how to weld. And he was actually helping this organization, Cambodian Children Trust, and they run programs to improve children, education, as well as they run foster homes for children and so on. So he was doing some work for them, and he was a good family friend. So I rang him one day. I just felt like, I don't know, I just reached a stage in my life. I had a very long corporate career. I was an educator at University of Macquarie University at the time. I'm an educator now at University of Wollongong. So I just felt like I've gone through corporate teaching. I've done so much in my life in terms of my business career. And I felt like I gathered so much information and so much knowledge. I just wanted to find an avenue to share that. And so when I rang this friend and I said, look, I know you're doing some work in Cambodia. Is it all right if I come and see you? And I actually flew from Sydney to Melbourne because these friends live in Melbourne. And he was very happy for me to be involved. So that's how it started. I just started learning about Cambodia. And then the lady that runs the CCT, she came to Sydney and she met me, and she was so enthusiastic about me helping them. She was just connected, and she said, look, can you please help us? Because while we have a lot of knowledge about Cambodia, we have very limited knowledge about how to set up social enterprises. And I said, okay, look, I'll give it a go. I won't promise, but I'll see what I can do. So that's how I ended up in going over there, because then I spent about 3 months writing all these training plans and putting together modules to basically just teach them how to structure the organization over there, and how they should be maybe looking at managing their social enterprise activities, because they were looking at setting up a barista school, a restaurant, a cafe to support their charity, and also teach kids, skills in hospitality. So I thought, okay, well, I have enough knowledge in business to be able to help them with some commercial decisions. So actually that particular social enterprise did go ahead, and we ended up launching the restaurant and barista school and cafe, and it was rated #1 on TripAdvisor in some time back now, about 5 years ago, and it's called Jambai, and it's in Battambang in Cambodia. So I worked with a number of people to get that social enterprise off the ground. And then I felt connected to the place. I went back quite a number of times, And I just love the people. I love the environment. I love the artisan work in Cambodia. There's such talented people. They can do anything. They just don't have sometimes the opportunity to be able to channel, they just don't have the funds. But when it comes to creativity, ability, skill, there's so many, people there that we could tap into and really draw on their talents. And this, and part of Step 2 organization mantra and our philosophy is to really connect people and not to have a paternalistic approach. We don't just give money to people. We engage them. We incorporate them into our organization, and we encourage them. And it's all about giving that encouragement as well, and giving people an opportunity, because if you have a paternalistic approach where you're just handing out money, really it doesn't achieve anything in the long run, and it's not sustainable. So that's how this was just one of those things that I had woke up one day and I thought, okay, look, I want to do more. I don't want to be just doing the same grind over and over and over and over, and have a sedentary lifestyle where, we go on holidays every year, we eat a lot, we drink a lot. And basically, that's what happens when we live in the West. Most of us end up doing that as we get older. Yeah. And I just didn't want that for me. I just didn't want that lifestyle for me. So that's what pushed me. I thought going into my 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, I want to do things that are going to make a difference. I want to be productive. I don't want to have a comfortable life. I want to push myself so that I can be uncomfortable sometimes, so that when I do have the time to be relaxed, that I feel, good about that yin and yang, not just always enjoying luxuries of life. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying luxuries of life, but just to have that, push to do and push yourself a little bit further is always good. It doesn't matter how old you are.
When you were in your 20s, 30s, did you have that within you, and you think you kind of pushed it down because of work? Like you said, you did your whole corporate life. Do you think you had that kind of drive within you, and it just came out when you were older and you kind of did your corporate life? Would you say
no,
that?
I always had it within me from this perspective. When I worked in corporate, I always believed in justice. I always believed in the fair opportunity. I didn't do things to necessarily benefit myself. I really believed in that. I was passionate about what I thought was right and what I thought was wrong. And if I truly believed what something was right and it benefited a lot of people, even if sometimes that was slightly against my own self-interest, I would push that point across and push that point forward. And that actually propelled me in my career, because contrary to what we think that if we are selfish and not giving and always grabbing, that will propel us in our careers. In fact, I experienced the opposite. The more I was, fighting for the right things, and the more I put hard work into practice and could convince people that what we're about to do is going to benefit a lot of people and not just one or two individuals, I found that yes, some people in that situation will sometimes ostracize you, and you may not be the most popular person, but in the long run, I found that having that approach even in business and having that approach in corporate life really propelled me, and I gained a lot of respect, to the point that when I was I think I was only 32 years old at the time, when I was the only woman, and I don't like to play the gender thing, but anyway, going back now 26 years or 27 years, it was harder for women to be in some of these positions, and I was one of the first women in Heinz to be on the acquisition team in Australia. So that was a really big breakthrough, and I was very proud of that. Not only a woman, but a young woman of 32. And I really truly believe the reason that came about is because I was so passionate, hardworking, but I also believed in doing the right thing, and I always had that sense of justice inside me. I didn't channel that always into charity work, but I channeled it in other ways with my family, and I did sponsor children, and I did do charity work when I was younger, but more hands off. I didn't have the time to take on any more than what I was doing, but I always had a social enterprise approach to things.
is there I know there are quite a few NGOs in Cambodia that are Australian. We spoke to a guy called Brett White a few episodes ago, and he runs leadership programs in Cambodia. Is there a lot of collaboration between you and other NGOs, especially Australian NGOs? And do you also teach things like leadership in your schools, or get someone else to come in and teach leadership?
Well, we do have partnerships. We partnership with the Australian Centre for Education in Siem Reap, and they're an organisation that is run by, they're part of an organisation called IDP, and they are partly owned by Australian universities and partly owned by SEEK. So we do partner with them. Part of their organisation is not for profit, but a big part of it is a profit organisation. But they do special projects and special deals for not-for-profits. So we have partnered with them to bring teaching skills into our school and into our English learning program. And then we have partnered with Room to Read, which is a very large organisation in the US, who sort of kind of have a similar history to what I've done, but they've grown internationally, a much bigger organisation. And we partnered with them actually when we were building the school. So they came in and gave us about 40,000 US dollars. So that was really nice. And also they built a library for us, which is something that they specialize in. And Room to Read, I don't know if for those of you who might have gone to Newington High, I know you boys have, like my son has as well. I think Room to Read was also involved with Newington with some projects as well. I know. So we got involved with them as well, and they're one of the biggest publishers of books in the world as well, because a lot of books don't get published in languages that are not popular, like Khmer. So they actually, as a charity, they publish books in different languages that perhaps are not published because there's no commercial benefit in publishing. So they stocked our library with lots of Khmer books and lots of English books. So there's a really wonderful addition. So yes, where there's an opportunity, we will partner, but I don't like to partner with necessarily individuals who are wanting to, we do take volunteers occasionally, volunteer teachers to the school, but we don't sort of kind of partner with individual organisations from Australia if they're a small scale organisation.
Just to take you back to when you said you went the first time and you kind of got that spark within you, I think you already answered the question, but I just wanted to ask it explicitly anyway, because I just want to know for like myself, and I'm sure people listening to it as well. Why not just donate to the charity or continue doing volunteer work for the charity that you already went the first time? Like, why make your own charity? I think you answered it, but I just like, what made you want to do your own thing there? Was there something you saw that you thought was done wrong, or did you just need to do that for yourself? Or
well, no, I mean, as I said, I think my involvement in Savache in Cambodia was something that I don't know, it just tugged at my heart. It wasn't something that I really sat down and planned for years and thought, oh, this is something that I really, really want to do, go there and build a school. So for me, it was, as I said, I met people, and it was something that I was looking for to do. And then it's just certain circumstances came about and certain opportunities came about. And then I thought, no, I can do this. Like, I really had a belief in myself that I can make a real difference. And I knew I had the skills to do it. And I also had the capital behind me to do it. You get to a certain stage in your life where you can also, rely on your own capital. And so I knew I had the money to do it. And I thought, why not? If I have the skills and I have the money and I have people here supporting me, I can do it. So it just felt right. It felt good. It felt right. And I thought I could make a difference. And I thought I could do it faster. I mean, if I was to engage another charity to do what we did, it would have taken years. And I thought I could do it in a matter of 12, 18 months. And that's sort of the kind of time span that we put together to be able to finish initially at least the first stages of building the school. So I felt good, and I felt really, I felt Thai Soviet, who's now our operations manager in Cambodia. I just felt also that he had the skills and ability, and we were able to work really well together. So I thought, well, now here we have the local skills, someone who's passionate as well to make a difference. And why not do it? Let's have a go. But at that stage, I didn't think we would become a charitable organization. That didn't happen until 2014, 15. So that was a couple of years down the track.
So you go.
I was going to say, again, the donating yourself to a different charity rather than starting your own, I think the results will be a lot less tangible for yourself. So you're not really, if you're donating to another charity, you're not 100% knowing where your money's going, which is what, personally, I would say that's a reason why I would probably start a charity. If, like, I'm not saying I will, but if I was going to, it's more tangible. And do you see, linking to that, do you see tangible physical results that what you're doing is helping a lot of people when you go over there? If so, what are some of those?
Absolutely. I'm a very hard taskmaster, you know, absolutely. And when you're putting your own money into something, you really want to see results. And our board of directors, there's 4 of us on the board. 2 of the board members I've been friends with 25 years. So both of them are my, you know, they're both business people, and they both had very long business careers. And and also I have a commitment to the board to make sure that everything we do delivers a result. Everything we do, the money's not wasted. We don't spend a lot of money on marketing. We do a lot of the social media stuff ourselves. We have enough skills between us on the board where we can do a lot of things that we don't need to bring outside people in, and no one draws any money out of the organization. In fact, the directors cover all admin costs. When I say admin, there are some admin costs. We need to get some accounting, auditing done. We you know, there are always some admin costs you can't get away from. So having said that, even our auditors, our bookkeeper, and our our internet provider and internet developer, they've all donated their time to the charity, so they don't get paid as well. So no one in Australia in our organization gets paid. It's all voluntary. People come into the organization because they want to make a difference. And the directors, part of our charter is that directors continue to fund the organization. So each of the directors also make a significant contribution every year. And if there is projects to be done where we haven't raised the money, then partly we are a philanthropic organization. So at least 2 of the board members, we put money directly into projects. So and so again, we have to be accountable for our own money. We can't have it wasted. So that one of the reasons that, you know, I've been to Cambodia 15 times, as I said, since 2012. So and that in itself is really important, because then I can see it with my own eyes, what's happening and what progress we're getting. And also now we see the kids that have gone through our school have gone to high school, because you can imagine now it's been some 10 years since we started the school, and those students are now are completing high school. So we've got 2 of our students that have only learned English at Savache primary school. We're going to sponsor them to go to university next year.
Wow.
So yes, we see the results. We've got so much, and we you know, we've encouraged a lot of young women in the community to continue to go to high school, because a lot of girls in Cambodia, they stop school after primary school and they do go to doing home duties. That's very common, only because families cannot afford to send all their children to school, so they tend to choose 1 child out of 3 or 4 sometimes, and that child is usually a boy, because they think that, you know, boys need to fend for their family, and there's still all that belief in old cultures, you know. So boys end up going to school a lot more than girls. But we found that if the girls are given the opportunity, they're sponsored, and their families really encourage them to go to school as well. So it's not like the families don't want the girls to study. They're very open, but they just don't have the financial means. So the more students we sponsor, the more we see a difference in across the board where kids are attending school. So that's been very fulfilling for me personally.
How did you expand to the water projects? Did you just see that was another need and you just started growing?
Yes, well, it started at our school in Savache. So we decided that we need to build something to give the kids fresh drinking water in the school, because they were coming to school, they didn't have any water. Quite often they would drink dirty water from one of the pumps that are nearby. So there'd be like these water that across most of the developing world, there is a lot of NGOs go and they actually build these pumps where you can draw water from the ground. And that groundwater is, unless you go really, really, really deep. So if you're under about 20 meters into the ground, you're just drawing surface water. And that surface water is not very clean. It has a lot of minerals that are not good for our body. And it also has a lot of bacteria. So, and that's what people drink. Unfortunately, that's what people drink across the world in developing countries. And there's a lot of disease, a lot of sickness, a lot of kidney problems. So this is something that I knew a fair bit about, actually, before I even thought about, what we're going to do at our school in Savache. I knew there was this huge need. And I did travel around Cambodia. I went also to Laos and part of Thai border. And I could see this from community after community, the same problem. So we found a very ingenious way to process water, and we did it once, and we thought this is fantastic, and we had the water tested in labs in Phnom Penh. The water quality was very good. And then that prototype we built in Savache school, we thought we can replicate, because we knew that there was a need in other communities, other schools. So we had school principals coming to us and saying, can you please build us a water system, because we desperately need one. So we managed to build 6, because it's quite expensive to build these systems and maintain them. So it cost us somewhere in the order of $100,000 US to build the 6 systems, but it costs us another $10,000 US every year to maintain them. So you can imagine that that's a significant amount of maintenance and commitment to the project. So we don't want to keep building them if we can't maintain them, Yeah. So and so that's why we will build more, but at the moment we're trying to maintain the 6 we have, and we do give water to a lot of people. So one of our systems, we can produce up to in 8 hours we can produce up to 40,000 liters of water. Okay. So that's a significant amount of, because we actually go very deep into the ground. We go about 50 meters into the ground. We draw the groundwater. We pump it up to an 8-meter, 2,000 liter tank, sitting on an 8-meter tower, and then we feed the water down into the processing unit, which is encased in basically a brick house. And then we have taps that give out fresh water. So it's quite a stable system, and it produces very good quality water.
Can I ask, it's a bit separate from that. I'm just so curious on the realities of starting a charity. So your idea, you went, you did your own money, you got your family involved. How did it become getting like you said, you're getting a chair, you're becoming a board, you're becoming registered as a charity? Like, how does that process actually happen?
And the back of all that, what would you say to us as younger people in terms of being charitable?
Okay, well, as I said, I think for me, because I worked in business for a long time, and I worked in I was doing a lot of consulting work as well in business. So I kind of had a fairly good idea about how to set up corporate structures. So that really helped. I sort of kind of knew where to go and what to ask, and I didn't know how to set up a social enterprise, but I certainly knew what questions to ask. And one of the things I knew is that in order to incorporate as a charitable organization, you have to have minimum of 3 directors, and you need to be a public company guaranteed by the directors. So you can't be a private company. You need to be a public company to be a charitable organization. And I knew that from my own teachings and from my own experience in corporate. So I then decided to do this, and I thought, well, who can I engage? And I because I had some corporate friends, I started to knock on their door and said, look, I'm doing this in Cambodia. Would you be interested if I was to set up a board? Would you be interested in coming on board? And two of my friends, they said, yes, we would be. And we can help you. We can help you to, set up the process. And especially one of my friends. And I said, okay, well, let's do it. And so she came on board, and we then had to put together all the paperwork to ACNC. We had to put Australian Commission and not-for-profit organisation. Then we had to make sure that we did all the right paperwork for ASIC, and we had to write a constitution, which has a funny story to it, which I won't talk about today because I don't want it to go public. I did draw on a few probably copyright boundaries, but it's all for a good cause.
My dad's a patent attorney, it's all right.
Yeah. So we
get sued now, Zeynab.
Yeah, we didn't want to engage lawyers because we thought, oh, that's going to cost a lot of money. We have one, we have one lawyer in the family now, and how much they bloody charge.
Hey, trust me, he did my will a couple of weeks ago. My God.
He charged your bloody arm and a leg, your son.
I know. So I thought, no, I have a few other friends who are lawyers in the family friend circle. I thought, no, we're not engaging any lawyers. We'll do this ourselves. And so we wrote the constitution ourselves and we submitted it. My accountant helped a little bit. And we just then registered. We never thought we would get DGR status, which is very difficult to get in Australia. So you can be a charitable, that's deductible, tax deductible recipient. And so we thought we'd never get that. So that was a bit of hard work, and the tax office was probably the hardest people to work with in order to get that over the line, but somehow we did. So that also changed the nature of our organization, because then corporates were much more prepared to give us donations because they can write it off their taxable income. So that did propel us in terms of the amount of donations we got. So that was a process we had to go through. It took about 18 months to get the DGR status, but to register as an organisation, it is still a lot of paperwork. You have to write a business plan, you have to write your mission, you have to write, it doesn't mean you will automatically get approved, but if you do all the paperwork and you just have some knowledge in how you structure it, then you can be registered as an organisation in Australia, but it's not an easy project, I have to say. It's not like even setting up a private company. You can set up a private company in 1 hour in Australia. You can just go to your accountant, he can download the paperwork from ASIC, you sign it, and off you go with a brand name, and you're done. But you can't do that when you're setting up a charitable organisation. It's a much stricter process and it takes a lot longer. So then we grew, our board grew. So we got now 4 directors on the board, but we're looking at appointing another director, hopefully this year, because we want to get it up to 5 directors. And in terms of corporate governance, it's better to have odd numbers than even numbers. So we'd like to get another director, but we haven't found the right person yet. So.
Fair enough.
Do you think the government needs to step in terms of how hard it is to create a charitable organisation as opposed to a private one?
The government does step
better
in.
or worse?
ACNC is very strict. They do step in, and you have to be audited. The organisation needs to be audited, and it needs to be a public. It doesn't matter whether you have DGR status or not. To be a charitable organisation in Australia as a foundation, then you need to be a public organisation, and which means you need to be audited publicly. So no, it's not that easy. It's not something that, people do it. Yes, it's not impossible. There's many charities in Australia, but there is a process to doing it.
Okay.
You have to be committed to do it. It is a big commitment, and you can't take it lightly. You can, if you don't do the right things, people will come down on you. Sorry?
So, well, you've obviously been committed. It's been 2012. You said you went for the first time. Was that right? So 10.
Yes, that's correct. Correct.
Yeah, 10 years. So how long so you had kind of a flash moment where it's like, I'm going to turn this into a charity. Is that right? Is that when you started to call your friends and like?
Yeah, that was in 2015. Yeah.
And then when did you get charity status? Like, how long did that whole process take for you?
Oh, actually, the process started probably around 2000 and beginning of 2014. We got the final, like the DGR status was around February 2015. So it took us about 14 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the last question I probably would be to ask, like, where do you see, what's the end goal kind of for Step2 Foundation? Where do you see it going? Do you have any specific goals in mind for this year,
Yeah.
next year?
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID has really, made things very difficult. As you know, like everything, we haven't been able to do fundraiser dinners, and it's been really hard for all organizations. So that has put a bit of a plug on, probably our plans in terms of moving faster. But having said that, last year, we completed building another classroom and foundations for one classroom. So we're getting at least another 50 kids to school in January. So that's going to be fantastic. Now it's starting now. So we just bought all the furniture and so on. So we've got some year one students starting soon. So we want to continue to support the school, and we've got enough land to build more classrooms, and the more classrooms we build, the more kids we can get to school. So as simple as that. And the Cambodian government does assist with teacher maintaining our teacher salaries and so on, so we can get more teachers. So we want to continue to grow Savache in the next 12 months, but we want to build another school. So in the next 3 years, that's our aim, is to build another school.
Or
in another village, Yeah, we want to build a school for 150 kids, and that will start out with 5 classrooms. And we want to commit to doing that. I think we will be able to do that over the next couple of years. And also to start to now get some of the kids that have gone through Savache school, who've gone to high school, is to find sponsors for them to be able to do further education, go on to university and other learning. So it's a very grassroots approach. We don't want to just build and leave. We want to work with the communities. We want to see the results. We don't want to just build and go. So many organizations just build and go. What's the point of that?
Yeah.
There's this law in physics, law of entropy, right? So if you leave things, you just build and there's no support, it'll just turn into ruin in a very short period of time. So unless you're committed to maintaining it and that sustainability has to be there. And that's a huge, huge, huge commitment. And that's where sometimes some organizations go wrong, because they build too quickly. They don't have enough support system to maintain, and things turn into, eventually they're just abandoned and there's no results. So we don't want that. We're not that kind of an organization, because as I said, most of our money is philanthropic donations from board members, family, friends, and people we cherish, and we don't want to waste their dollars. So we're very committed to getting results.
Well, the last thing probably is there a link on your website for people to donate, for anyone listening? And we'll share it on our Instagram as well.
Absolutely. So if you go to Step2Foundation.org, and you'll see a donate button.
Perfect.
Everywhere on the website. Also, we did a Christmas appeal, which is on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
It's already set up, and maybe if people want to make a Christmas appeal donation, there's also the link to the Christmas appeal.
Perfect.
We appreciate your time, heaps, and thank you for coming on. And
thank you. That's really good that you guys are doing that. So you're already on your way, on the road to making a difference. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Zeynab.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of your trip.
I hope that was okay.
It was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.